Thank you for joining us here at Nightmare Orchard, where we tell scary stories that take you on an adventure to the unknown. Sit back and enjoy. The last shift at Craggy Prison. Most people in Whitford said Craggy Prison was just an old building, not haunted, not mysterious, just an old relic tucked into the mountainside, half swallowed by rhododendron and kudzu and forgotten from the world. But the prisoners and guards all had things happen to them in one part of the building, the lowest level of the prison they had named. The cold mile. That was the hallway on the lowest level, a corridor that never warmed, no matter the season. The inmates refused to walk it. The guards avoided it. And the warden insisted it was just bad insulation. Elias Mercer didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed in sounds. And on his last night shift, Craggy Prison was full of them. The sound in cell block D. The power flickered just after midnight. Not unusual. Storms rolled through the mountains all the time. But the lights didn't come back on. Emergency generators hummed to life, bathing the halls in a sickly red glow. Elias was doing his rounds when he heard it. A voice. Not shouting. Not crying. Whispering. Coming from cell block D, a block that had been empty for years. He stepped inside, boots echoing on the concrete. The air was colder here, enough to sting his lungs. "Hello?" he called. The whispering stopped. Then a single cell door at the far end clicked. Not open, just unlocked. Elias felt a pressure behind his eyes, like the air itself was leaning toward him. He backed out and radioed the control room. No answer, so he called again, and still no answer, so he gathered himself and headed to the control room. When he reached the control room, the door was open. The monitors were on, but the screen showed only static, except one. Camera 12. The cold mile. A figure stood at the far end of the hallway. Too tall. Too thin. Head tilted at an unnatural angle, as if listening to something only it could hear. Elias leaned closer. The figure took a step toward the camera. The feed cut to black. A low hum filled the room, vibrating through the floor. Elias felt it in his teeth. Then the PA system crackled to life. A voice, dry, rasping, like someone speaking through a mouth full of dust, whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Elias should have run. But the prison layout meant one thing. If something was moving through the cold mile, it could reach the generator room. If the generators died, the cell doors would all unlock. He grabbed his flashlight and headed down. The deeper he went, the colder it became. His breath fogged. The walls dripped with condensation, though the air felt bone-dry. Halfway down the stairwell, he heard footsteps behind him. Slow. Dragging. Not matching his own. He didn't turn around. Not yet. The cold mile hallway stretched ahead, lit only by flickering red emergency lights. Something was wrong with the floor. It looked warped, as if something beneath it had pushed upward, straining against the concrete. Elias walked slowly, flashlight trembling in his hand. Halfway down he saw it. A handprint on the wall. Not painted. Not bloody. Frosted. As if something freezing cold had pressed its palm there. Then another. And another. Leading toward the generator room. Elias followed them. He didn't hear the footsteps behind him anymore. He heard breathing. Right at his back. He spun around. Nothing. Just the long red-lit corridor. But the breathing continued, now coming from the vents above him. He turned to the generator room to see that the door to the generator room was open. Inside, the temperature dropped so sharply Elias felt his joints ache. The generators were still running, but barely. Lights dimmed. Metal groaned. And in the corner, crouched beside the largest generator, was the figure from the camera. It wasn't tall anymore. It was hunched, twisted, its limbs bent like broken branches. Its head snapped toward him. Eyes pale. Mouth open too wide. Elias raised his flashlight. The thing recoiled, hissing like steam escaping a pipe. He stepped forward, heart pounding. "What are you?" he whispered. The thing shuddered. Then, in a voice that sounded like a dozen prisoners speaking at once, it said, "Left behind." The lights surged. The generators roared. The thing dissolved into a swirl of frost and shadow, sucked upward into the vents like smoke. The temperature rose instantly. Elias collapsed to his knees. It was finally over. By morning, the power was stable. The warden blamed the storm. The other guards blamed old wiring. Elias didn't blame anything. He quit. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind blows down from the Blue Ridge, he swears he hears it again. A whisper. A breath. A voice from the cold mile saying, "You shouldn't have left us." Thank you for tuning into our story of the old Craggy prison. If you enjoyed this story, remember to like and subscribe for more stories and updates from the Nightmare Orchard.